Hey, my name is Tim Sae Koo, a recovering Type A and aspiring Type B heart-led leader. After selling my first tech startup in Silicon Valley due to personal misalignment in 2018, I am now backpacking around the world for a year with the intentions of healing myself, recharging my battery, and seeking what problem pains my heart to see exist. I'm here to take you on my journey, to stay in touch with you all, and share my learnings to open up new gateways of inspiration and awareness. Good morning and greetings from this beautiful, gorgeous, and amazing place called Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. And you can just see how much I'm pausing and enjoying and smiling this place because it is truly a magical, magical place. And I'll go more into that soon, but super excited to share what happened in week 5 as I traversed through Mazunte to Guatemala in Antigua and here in Lake Atitlan. So the beginning of week 5, I got a really pleasant surprise in that I was accepted into a 10-day vipassana silent retreat in Cali in Colombia at the end of March. And when I first got that, I had this mixture of emotions of both excitement and nervousness. Excitement that I get to experience this kind of amazing modality, but also nervous in that I didn't know what I was really getting myself into, let alone the last time I was quiet was for one day, maybe 10 years ago, and so I wouldn't really know what to expect. And so, the biggest thing that came back to me was that comfort and growth do not coexist. And should I want to be my best self, I need to lean into the unknown and this fear. And knowing that I felt this fear, knowing that I'll be safe, really got excited to move into that. So swimming with dolphins, wow, what amazing and beautiful and mesmerizing experience. Never got to do that in the deep ocean, but you would wake up early in the morning and take a boat out for about maybe 30-45 minutes searching for where the dolphins were swimming in the ocean. And as we were boating around, I was like skeptical if this would really happen. It was really out of our control. But ultimately saw a group of dolphins swimming all around, jumping and playing. As we put our snorkel gear on, we jumped into the ocean, and yes, I was a little bit fearful, not knowing what to expect, but once I jumped in and put my eyes underwater, you could see this vast ocean below you, and little dolphins swimming around and playing. And as you just kind of enjoy that opportunity, you can hear them squeaking and communicating and playing with one another. And it was just such a wonderful experience that got me to really appreciate the ocean life. Experiencing that allowed me to really connect with the vast beauty of this ocean and be more aware and cognizant of my actions and decisions of eating, my sustainability practices, what I consume, and how that affects the ocean. And it was just such a mesmerizing experience to be in front of, to see the beautiful life that coexists inside the ocean. So after Mazunte in Mexico, I decided to head down to Guatemala because of how many times and how many people were all saying the same consistent thing to make sure to check out Guatemala if I'm backpacking around Central America, specifically with Lake Atitlan, where I am at right now. So when I landed in Guatemala, I met up with my good friend David, which I met almost just a month ago in Costa Rica at One Heart. He's such an amazing host, and it just made me realize what a game changer when you sync up with a local friend who knows the country and speaks your same language of wanting to adventure and explore, but decided to head out to Antigua, which I was pleasantly surprised how beautiful it was. And I learned that it was a UNESCO site. For those who do not know UNESCO, it is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, and they make sure they put places with historic value and culture to make sure it's always preserved. And you can see that preservation in Antigua. Whereas you walk around, you feel that colonial vibe where everything is, all the houses and shops really remind me of Oaxaca, where it's no more than maybe 2 floors most, and it's bright, vibrant colors, and you can still see the architecture preserved from the colonial periods. So after our evening in Antigua, we woke up early in the morning to drive out to Lake Atitlan to avoid any traffic, and boy, was it a beautiful drive. And as we drove up to Lake Atitlan, I felt my heart increase again to see the vast wonder of these volcanoes surrounding this crater lake, and I believe is the deepest lake in Central America. And the fun thing about Lake Atitlan is that I believe there are about 12 to 13 different towns surrounding this big lake. And each lake has its own flavor. It reminded me of San Francisco, where I lived for the last 6 years, where there's different parts of the city that has its own vibes and flavors and culture. And that's the same with Lake Atitlan, to the point where they even have different dresses and colors that signify a certain town over another. For us, we explored San Pedro, and ultimately I decided to choose to spend most of my time in a town called San Marcos, which is where I am at right now. And in San Marcos, we both experienced ecstatic dancing here. Ecstatic dancing is a form of dancing where you don't talk, and it's very like tribal electronic beats and music that's being played for about 2 to 3 hours. And on the dance floor, you just fully express yourself in whatever way that means for you. And prior to that, we experienced a traditional Mayan cacao ceremony where we had a woman of traditional lineage share her practice of cacao ceremonies and go through the history and the culture, which was amazingly beautiful and just something that fed me and made me jump with joy to experience and breathe in that local culture again. You know, I had read this question once that really came to me this week, which was, when landing in a new place or a new country or a new location, what allows you to feel connected or have a relationship with that place? And as I landed in Lake Atitlan, and specifically San Marcos, I felt that strong connection, similar to this connection I had when I landed in Ubud in Bali, Indonesia for the first time last year. And for me, what I've learned is that environments that are conducive for spiritual growth through ancient and modern modalities, through workshops, centers, supportive community with vulnerable conversations, exploring growth, sustainable practices throughout the community, organic, vegan-friendly food areas and shops, and just local culture surrounding you is what really brings me joy and feel like I have that strong connection and relationship to a new place. And that's how I feel in San Marcos. And for this week's comments, I would love to learn, what connects you to a place, and please leave it in the comments below. And because I'll be staying in San Marcos for another 2 weeks, I'll leave most of the beauty and the workshops and what's around here in the local life to the next few weeks' videos, so stay tuned for that. But as I always end my videos now with some learning lessons, here are the 5 learning lessons I picked up this past week. Lesson number 1, comfort and growth do not coexist. If I truly want to grow and be my best self, invite fear and lean into that fear. And number 2, I feel most at home when I land in different areas around the world that have spiritual centers that center around growth, healing, and transformation. Number 3, having a local friend in a country you're going to visit show you around absolutely changes the game. Shout out and thank you to David. Number 4, everything happens for you and not to you. And this was such a beautiful reminder because I decided to get a haircut one day and I had to wait 2 hours, and the barber decided to not take me afterwards, which I was a little bummed, but ultimately told myself that this is happening for me, do not worry. Made it to Lake Atitlan, found a barber right across the street from my hotel, and charged only a fourth of the price that the previous barber would have charged me. So again, everything happens for you and not to you. And number 5, when traveling, especially solo, stay humble and stay curious, because those 2 qualities will help you meet the right people you want to and seek what you're looking for and have the experience that you crave. That was my week, a pretty simple and transitional and transitory week, but stay tuned for next week as I share more about San Marcos and Lake Atitlan, where it's just filled with amazing workshops, classes, events, and conscious-minded people, and just so excited to share all that with you. And the other thing is that because I'll be alone this time for this month of February traveling, I'll have a lot more reflections to share that really encapsulate what it is like to travel solo and by oneself. And again, so grateful, so appreciative, so humbled to have you join me on this backpacking journey around the world for a year, and ultimately for your time as well. See you next week.